Hello, 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 and welcome to another edition of the Big Freakin' Friday Show on the College Football Mafia Network. I'm your host, Nathan Bomber Brown. With me are my partners in crime, as we always like to call ourselves. Here's stealing good time and trying to put it out for you. That'd be the Wild Ute and Moen After Dark. How are you guys doing tonight?
Happy Friday.
It is Happy
Damn
Friday.
If there was any better, it'd have to be twins and double the medication to handle it, Nate.
Okay. All right. We're not talking pharmaceuticals tonight, Mo, and I'm just saying. I appreciate everybody being here. We're starting off with a bang. We got a couple quick right out the gate before the show even starts, and these get profiled immediately. So if you guys want to hit the show hard and talk about what you want to talk about for 5 or 10 minutes, this is the way to do it. Ryan Willie hits us with 2 super chats. The first one, $50 super chat. Ryan Willie, let's get him Sounder. Let's get him rain and
evil
money.
badger.
Let's give him everything we can get him.
Absolutely.
Hit that.
Let's go ahead and put some.
Shit, I don't even know. Like, I can't even tell you that. Like, you know, like, fucking, I don't know. Like, never know. You know.
He's killing it out here.
Watch your enemies. See them driven before you. And hear the lamentation of the women.
He is out here killing it tonight with the 50-piece donation from Ryan Willie, the evil
50.
badger.
Give him that badger.
Dropping
See
the
that right there?
this
Hey, the
one?
super chat's covering the badger. There we go.
There you go. You can
He's
see
got
the badger. I'll
living,
put the
man.
super chat back on.
Livin.
Listen, Ryan is living.
He is living. There's no
You
doubt.
just gotta
the
keep
first
living,
one,
man. Livin.
the first one he sent us is $50 for. It says now ESPN Seth Greenberg is pushing for Super League, right? For a Super League. Explain to me how having a Super League helps the Big 12. The Big 12, Pac-12, Mountain West are all located in the western part of the U.S., where there aren't as many eyeballs to draw ad revenue. So those conferences are screwed, I guess is what he's saying. We'll address this one. He also has another super chat after that. So let's take this one on first. I'll answer last. Why don't you explain to not just Ryan, but everybody who's watching how it helps the Big 12?
How a Super League helps the Big 12? It doesn't help the Big 12 at all. It helps perhaps 1 or 2 or 3 schools in the Big 12 that could get into a Super League. Those schools want the Super League. The rest of the schools in the Big 12 certainly don't want a Super League unless it goes to 70 or 80 teams because they're going to get left out of the Super League. So only select schools in the Big 12 want a Super League, like the idea of a Super League because they feel like they can get into a Super League. And in the Pac-12 and Mountain West, they should not want a Super League unless it's 70, 80 schools because they're all going to get left out if it's just 40. If a Super League happens, there will be a new shaping of college football at like this, I guess, secondary tier and stuff where maybe the Big 12, the Pac, and Mountain West could play each other more, the leftover schools. But it's not a win for anybody in those conferences unless you get into the Super League. So everybody wants to get into the Super League, and that's got to be the biggest focus.
Moen, you have any comment on it before I give mine?
I am a Super League Nazi. No Super League for you. Banned 1 year.
You are a Super League Nazi. That is true. I think we need to qualify our answer on this one a little bit. I do appreciate what you said. Super League could mean anywhere from 48 to 70 schools, right? 72 is the max we've sort of seen. And depending on what that number finally is, it might involve a majority of the Big 12. We don't know. But if it's the most exclusive Super League, the 40-team Super League, there's not going to be a lot of Big 12 people that are going to be involved, and so they're probably not going to cheer for that. But if you go from, and I would even stretch it to 48, I would say if you could go from 48 to 72, there are some interested parties in these conferences that want to be involved. So that's a qualification on your question, Ryan. But at the end of the day, Moen doesn't want one at all. Ute and I want one if it's the right size.
First schools get in, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That's all we care about. And the Big 12 itself is in that pinch point, right? We all know that. I don't think a Super League's coming before whatever happens to the ACC is coming. Bottom line, that's my opinion. The ACC event still has to happen, and once that event occurs, then the Big 12 will pick up the pieces, and then we can talk about the next step, and that would be maybe a 3-conference Super League, right? You have conferences of 20 or something like this. So as far as Wisconsin goes, they don't have to worry at all. Being in the Big Ten, they're going to be in no matter what. So
Wisconsin's going to get into any Super League if it's 30 teams, 40 teams. Wisconsin's in, right?
Yeah.
So like it's not even something to lose sleep over at all. But if you're like a lot of Big 12 schools there'll be bubble teams, into like a 40,
sure,
45,
absolutely
50 school Super League, a lot.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's going to be a lot of nail biting. If it went to 80 schools, then everybody in the Power 4 gets in.
Right.
And also more schools, right? In Mountain West. And
Even
AAC.
70 covers all the power schools.
It's just hard to see the financials really support 70, 80 schools. I think the financials really support 40 max, guys. Like, so when I talk about Super League, I'm talking about no more than 40. Because then, like, there's the money falling down. And really, at the end of the day, you nailed it, Nate. Unless a guy like Moen and his school, his alma mater, Ohio State and Alabama, until we start hearing the fan bases and the administration from your biggest school supporting it, it's not happening.
Yeah,
they're going to be the domino that has to fall for it to happen. So until Ohio State flips their view of this, it ain't happening.
No, and let's just put everything on a calendar. ACC event triggers Mountain West, Pac-12, AAC. But also triggers what's going to happen with the Big 12. And then is there a rump ACC still around, right? Those are the pieces that we're not sure about. Really has nothing to do with the Big 10 or the SEC. So Super League, it depends what the number is, I think, is basically what we're saying. Moen says absolutely no. So that's his opinion. Ryan follows it up with another $10 super chat. Moen, we got more sounders for that.
Sure.
We got a full tank of gas, half a pack of cigarettes. It's dark, and we're wearing sunglasses. Hit it.
Give him that Badger sound. That.
All these new things you want to play with. Let's just, there we go. We're checking it out.
I love Wisconsin.
The new toys are so fun. Go ahead. What do you say?
Can I do the read on this one, Nate?
Go sure.
You're going to have schools in their region, which isn't going to work for the Western U.S. You said that you'd like to see Utah in the Big. The Big has more people watching them than the Big 12.
I'm not sure what you're saying, Ryan. You're stating facts, Ryan. There's nothing we can really say to that.
Yeah, I mean, like, you're right. I mean, like, hey, any school that's outside the Power 2 wants to get in the Power 2. We need to be honest about that. Utah, of course, would love to go to the Big 10. And like, just like BYU would love to go to the SEC or the Big 10 if they had a chance. Like, anybody's going to try to get to higher payouts.
Yep.
Like, look at the financials, guys. Like, Big 12 makes a third to a half as much as those others. Like, you're going to try to make the most money you can with the most exposure. Like, let's be honest about it. So that's going to be the goal. And this is Super Chat actually parlays so much into the topic of this live show too. We're going to get into it later, but will big money be enough to push programs to the P2? Also, like in the Big 12 land too, with private equity, like that conversation too is important. And like why schools might or might not want to take part in a private equity deal is pretty big.
Yep. We're going to get to that in just a second. So anyway, thank you, Ryan. $60 super chats, brother. We really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Thanks for being a valuable member of the Mafia family. Go ahead, Moen. Anything else you want to do for him before we move on? There we go. I like it. Thank you, Ryan Willie. We appreciate you so much. Let's do shout outs.
Hey, Ryan, by the way, I know you're watching.
Go ahead.
Hold on a second. I know Ryan's watching this on demand. I'm just going to let you know right now, Lady Buckeyes up 4-2 over Cornell. We'll see you in the title game on Sunday if you get past them Gophers.
Okay. Well, they play BYU tomorrow.
Out.
Wisconsin, BYU, round of 32 tomorrow in Denver, 5:30.
Well, I'm talking about women's hockey. Yeah,
I understand.
Right.
Also with basketball.
If Wisconsin gets gets past Minnesota tonight. Yeah, we've got multiple bets. If Wisconsin could only play Utah in a sport in the postseason, sorry, you.
Is that it? Are you done? Did we lose Moen?
We got you, Bowen?
That's
Still
it.
there?
Just then, sorry,
Okay.
you.
All right.
Okay. I don't know. We don't. I'm not exactly sure what you were saying, but okay. Joaquin Morales. Let's check in with him. He says, first in the house. Lol. I listen to the show when I can. Just stopping by to say hey and smash that like button. Taking care of mama, running multiple infusions 24/7 on Y Splitter. Joaquin, you are doing God's work.
Yeah, that's
You are
good stuff,
absolutely doing
Joaquin.
God's work, helping your mother. That's the most important thing. And we really, really appreciate you listening to us whenever it is, live or on tape. Man, we really appreciate you. And we just want your family to be all good. So let us know if there's anything we can do for you. You guys want to say anything, Joaquin?
No, I think that's well said. Agreed.
Okay. Let's go to we have so many comments from Larry, the GM. We'll get to his. Nathan Campbell says, hi, guys. Thank you very much, Nathan. It's great to see you. Ryan says, sorry, guys, but I am an evil badger. So that's there. That's there. Big Lubbock is fourth. Good to see you. Good to have you here, Big Lubbock. Follows that up by saying, Ryan Willing, I don't know. That Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, Iowa, Ohio, West Virginia, and Florida were in the western part of the U.S. That is news to me. So he's breaking out basically the rest of the breaking out the rest of the Big 12, which is all in the East, obviously. So you guys want to add anything to that?
Nope.
Okay. And then Vox Kindaro comes in with $100 super chat. Vox, thank you
Vox.
so much. Holy cow. Going bang for bang. Moen, what do you want to give Vox? Keep it going.
Let's give him some. We got the Jayhawks here. Oh, there's
Give him the Jayhawk.
Jayhawk.
Give him those
Yeah,
lady
I wanna hit
legs, the
okay,
Jayhawk
cool.
lady legs.
As soon as there we go. You got to pull the super chat down a little bit first, Bomber, so we can see all the iterations of the lovely Jayhawks, and we will say that is legitness.
Okay.
That was legitness. Yeah, it was. Huh?
And we'll let him
Let him cook. Let him cook now. Let him cook. I said let him cook.
That's
he's
right.
Definitely getting it hype in here. Thank you so much for the $99.99.
$100.
I guess we do this one.
Hey man, am I driving okay?
You're in Georgia, you're not.
Oh man, thank you, Vox.
Yeah, thank you so much, Vox. We appreciate you and help us keep the lights on. We seem to have done a good job keeping people interested, and you've been one of those guys. So thank you so much for everything you've done for us in the last several months. We really appreciate you. And being a member on and off has really, really helped. So thank you so much. Let's see here. We'll get to some more. Can't remember right there. We go. TF Williams, another valuable member of the Mafia family, saying, "Hey y'all, let's go Noles. Let's go. I support Florida State. Let's go. Let's get it." Big Lubbock had one bottom line statement. So let's read this. Bottom line, there will be no congressional antitrust exemption with the Super League. Too many senators and House reps will vote against it. I don't care if it's Super League or anything. I don't want them to get it regardless. You give Congress, you give the NCAA control again, in my opinion, by giving them back their antitrust exemption. It immediately stops all the progress that we've had with the players and movement and what do you call them? The NIL and revenue sharing, all that stuff is going to now be put under an artificial cap. And I don't want that. But you sort of have a different opinion on that, don't you? Or do you agree with me on the antitrust thing?
I think that that's going to be a hurdle, no doubt about it. I think that it could get worked out, though. eventually, if there's enough money, I think that the Super League happens. If you can sell the Ohio States and Alabamas, if you can get them on board, I think it happens. But right now, there's just not enough incentive to get them on board, seemingly. It's just going to be about financial play. It's about money, right? How much money can you offer them to pull them away from their peers? At least have them jump before their peers jump over and everything. And it's going to take a ton of money. So that's the biggest hurdle, guys. I think it's worse. I think it's a bigger sell to try to get your Ohio States on board than even try to like play the legal court game and everything with it. Until that happens, no Super League.
Moen?
Yeah, listen, that antitrust exemption, that's going to come through. It's going to happen.
No.
Yes.
No,
yes.
We don't want it to.
I know you don't want it to, but it's going to happen, guys. You're going
why?
to
why? Sell it. Why?
Why is it going to happen? Because the people don't like regulation, are going to make that happen. The senators and the representatives of the most populous states have the most pull. They're going to make this happen. You look at the amount of population represented by schools like the Big Ten, the Big 12, the SEC. Nothing against those G5 schools. I'm sorry, but I know there's one senator from Washington State that's really pulling for Washington State, but I'm sorry, but Washington controls the levers and switches in that state. The University of Washington, and the University of Washington needs this exemption to keep going through. It's an unfortunate part of business. We're in this space, and Greg puts it out there all the time. We're not quite pro. We're not quite amateur.
Wait, so what is Washington? So we're talking about like DC, right?
No. I apologize. I'm talking about Washington State. I'm talking about the major universities in those states are going to need that antitrust exemption.
Well, again, but if you do that, you roll back the last 5 years of all player movement.
You do, but I think this is a situation where we've had too many wild swings. It used to be too much in favor of the NCAA before, and now it's too much in favor of the Wild West of NIL and transfer portal and everything. There has to be some kind of guardrail set forth. And unfortunately, I think it's Congress actually having to step in, pass an antitrust exemption to make that happen.
I think that would be a disaster. That's my opinion. But okay. All right. I think we've talked that one through. Larry, the GM, checking in saying, Ryan, giving the facts here, a Super League concept that goes beyond at most 48 is basically dilutive. And most of those being its biggest cheerleaders now would rail hardest against it then. You guys want to say anything about that?
I agree.
Okay.
Yeah. It could be dilutive at 70 or 80 schools. I mean, compared to what you're getting right now in the Big Ten.
I don't know. I know what Larry's getting at because he and I have had this conversation on Twitter many times at this point. Is dilutive really the issue? Because if the more schools you bring in, the more you represent the United States of America, everybody. And I know that's a concern. Bob's told us that's a concern for the Big Ten. I don't know about the SEC, but they don't want to be looked at as this big broker that is all powerful. They don't want that perception on them, even though them and the SEC are. They don't want to walk around being looked at as the bully. And I think it's true. The perception thing is real. Killing the golden goose is you go to 36 or 40 teams and you lose 2/3 of the United States.
Yeah.
So how does that work? And I don't understand how that's something that we're even talking about. When you don't even have to have conferences, you don't even need to have teams play in the best football type concept. You don't even need the leagues. You do something extra from the leagues, and you just get the best brands to play best football, and that could be anywhere from 56 to 64. Go ahead, you.
Yeah, it's just the concept of dilution is the more mouse you feed, the less you can eat.
Right.
And even if the pot's a little bit bigger, likely it's not going to be big enough to make you eat more So like they want as much food as they can get, i.e. money, as they can get. So even if the contract's not as big as it could be with 80 teams,
Right.
if it's slightly less with 30 teams, everyone gets paid out twice, 5 times more, right? It's all about money maximization for the schools in Super League. That's why I don't think it goes beyond 40 teams, because then it's like you're not getting enough bang for your buck beyond 40 with the historical television figures. And this is just a television product at that time. Like, forget conferences, forget academics, forget alignment, forget culture. It's a football only product, right? It's a television product in that case. So you're just going for eyeballs.
All right. Very, very good. And if you're new to the channel, make sure you're subscribed, follow us on YouTube, on Twitter, turn on your notifications on YouTube and on Twitter, so you know when we're on, and when we do posts on news on Twitter, we like to do that. So follow us on Twitter as well. I'm going to read this super chat because I didn't read it last time. I just announced it.
It's all good. Yeah.
Wild Ute is a righteous dude.
We know why Wild Ute wanted it read.
Bob Davis, Big Bob Davis, longtime legendary voice of KU Jayhawk athletics. Give him another sounder there, Moen.
Let's give him some Jayhawk squawk.
I love it.
For Big Bob Davis. R.I.P. Big Bob Davis. Yep. Watch your Jayhawks from the heavens now.
Thank you so much, Vox. We really, really appreciate you, man. I really appreciate all you've done for us in these last 6-8 months. It's really helped us keep going. Let's do some more shout outs. Larry has a bunch of messages on here I can't get to this second, but we'll try to get back to him, Larry, if we have time at the end of the show. Caleb Ramirez says, hi, everyone. Representing Ohio State University, Bob Swanger checking in as the Penn State Nittany Lion. Hello. Good evening, College Football Mafia. Timothy Green checking in. Good to see you, Timothy. Hello, sports fans. Welcome to another great show. Let's go Mountaineers. West Virginia.
Let's go.
West Virginia is on the clock right now. Everything they're doing, a lot of people are paying attention to. Clint Moses checking in, another valuable member of the Mafia family, saying UNC frauds first round knockout. I don't know who did anybody pick against North Carolina? I didn't.
Well, no, UNC lost today in the tournament about an hour and a half ago.
Okay, and that's fine. They beat San Diego State. Right? And they made the tournament, and then they lose. That's the way it's supposed to be, right? Righteous.
So you've got one ACC team left, guys. You go Duke. That's it. That is it. Like, forget like a lot of credit money, like NCAA tournament credit money was something that you hear a lot of ACC fans say that, hey, we get a lot of tournament credit money. That's going to be rough. It's going to be pretty low payouts unless Duke wins it all.
15 years ago, the ACC was the best basketball conference in America, undisputed. There was nobody that would even argue that point. 15 years later, they have screwed up that conference so poorly that it's being run into the ground. They had to do unequal revenue sharing just to keep the conference together. And now they're letting football decisions drive everything, which is starving their basketball programs. Utah knows all about that. And in doing so, you're dropping off the face of the earth in relevance. It's a horrific fall for a storied conference.
It's confusing too when you've got like these brands in that just aren't performing very well. Like,
right.
Like a Syracuse. How's a Syracuse not in the tournament every year? It's a historic basketball brand.
I know.
I don't know what's happened in the ACC. It's moving the wrong direction though for them.
Lots of broken things there for sure. And something that maybe the ACC might look to move early. Maybe they move earlier to get a Memphis, to get a Tulane, teams that are getting in other conferences that would represent in the tournament. 1-12 North Carolina was, but in conference quad 1-12. They beat up a bad fraud San Diego State team, and then they lose today, and nobody is surprised. Not one team is surprised. All right, let's keep going. Joe Z checking in, another valuable member of the Mafia family, saying Ryan coming out hot. I love it. Antoine Johnson, good to see you, Antoine. Another valuable member of the Mafia family, saying, what's up, y'all? F the NCAA tournament. ASU locked up 2-2 with Denver U for the frozen face-off in the SEC of college hockey. ASU is a hockey school, damn it. Hey, go for it, Antoine. Whatever it takes. Let's see here. MBM checking in. Another become a super member of the Mafia family. Appreciate you, man. Is that Wayne D? Wayne D. Do you guys know that reference?
I assume it's probably me.
Yeah, you've got to
Okay.
be.
But I don't know
Okay.
who Wayne D is. so-
Is that John Wayne, like Duke?
I'm not
or
sure
something?
what that is.
Oh.
I don't know.
He must be a sexy mofo. That's all I
Okay.
know.
All right. Chris
Yes.
Kinney checking in. Can we please quit throwing out the term left behind? Tell me how Mountain West Conference, American Conference USA, and the others haven't already been left behind. Ute?
I mean, they would just get. I guess the Big 12, if Super League happened, a lot of Big 12 schools would get left behind. A lot of ACC schools would get left behind because they wouldn't make it at 40. Right? Like that's what we're talking about. So maybe for the Pac-12, it's not as relevant, like you're saying, Chris. But for a lot of Big 12 schools, it would be punishing, right? If it went to 40. And yeah, like I mean, you're talking a lot of bubble teams, like Utah's borderline bubble team. Who knows? If they get in, in that case. So all of our schools up to the top here are the bubble schools, right?
Yeah.
So it's it'd be tough. But like the schools would get left behind though if you did have a Super League.
100% agreed. Devil Frog checking in, another valuable member of the Mafia family, OG Mafia member, saying 72 is a majority of FBS schools. I think 70 I had in my list, but yeah, it would be. There's 135 schools playing Division I football. 70 is half that, right? Just a little over half. If you can represent more than half of the nation, I think that's the number you shoot for. That's my opinion. You want to make the most money. If the whole thing's about money, you're doing 32 to 40. That's it.
Yep.
So what are we playing for? A championship, a real championship, or are we playing for a big pot of gold? Because that's at the end of the day going to be the driving question. Michelle Weintraub checking in. Good to see you, Michelle.
Hey.
Another West Virginian. West Virginia says no because we have no luck being on the bubble.
Sorry about that.
That's family. Daniel Gygax, valuable member of the contributor extraordinaire, had a video come out today in the College Football Mafia main channel. Hi everyone, he says. Daniel, great to see you. I think we're almost done with our shout outs. John Boxleiter. John Boxleiter. Welcome to the channel. I think I've seen you before. Make sure you subscribe, John. We appreciate you being here. When I think of a Super League, I think of about 24 teams max. The Blue Bloods and near Blue Bloods.
Blue Bloods, yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah.
Well, 24 teams isn't enough because you'd have to involve all the schools in the SEC and the Big Ten. If you're going to do it, well, I guess let's ask the question: what is he actually talking about? Is he talking about the best football brands? Absolutely, 24 is a great number. If that's all you're talking about, is the blue blood brands the ones that are consistently there every year and have been for decades? 24 teams is a pretty good thing. You break that down, have a little NFL light. That's absolutely true. So if that's the question, 24 makes sense. If you're talking about the majority of what the rest of the people are doing for coverage in leagues, that number is going to be considerably higher. So it just depends what question are you answering. Go ahead, you.
Yeah, I think that you nailed it. Like for max payouts, like the smaller you shrink, almost the more you can get paid out in theory, right? So 24 teams. The only question there is like, do you have enough inventory to offer a media partner with 24 teams? I would say probably not. You need more than 24. The NFL has 32 teams, right?
Yeah.
40 seems like pretty optimized and everything for inventory. But really, if you look at historical viewership, the top 20 to 30 schools really drive 80-90% of all viewership, guys. Like that's the argument for Super League. It's just like that's why private equity wants to get their hands on it. It's because like, hey, we're gonna make this thing a cash cow. It should be a cash cow now. We're just gonna optimize and consolidate. So
You want to add anything to that, Moen?
No Super League.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, John. It's great to have you here. We really appreciate it. Skaven, yes. Checking in. Go Big Red. Hello, gentlemen. Good to see you, Skaven. Thanks so much for being here. Vox Quindaro's chiding us silently. Nobody read the chat. Moen read the chat. I was the one that screwed it up reading, so
We
I
got
take
that. Sorry about
responsibility
that,
for
Vox.
Yeah, sorry about that, Vox. And then he follows that up by saying, "My pleasure, man." That's cool. We really appreciate you.
Yeah, definitely.
Let's see here. TF Williams, I read. Okay, we got BYU football checking in. Says Goku's. Good to see you, Sean Ski. Representing great state of Utah, Illini Ted. Checking in. Another valuable. These are all members, Moen. How cool is that? All these member people watching on our Big Freaking Friday shows. Good evening, Mafia. Beat Xavier. I'm not against Xavier. Are you guys against Xavier? I think he's against Xavier.
He is.
Illinois is playing Xavier. Yeah, that's true.
Beat Xavier.
Almighty Finn checking in. Good to have you here, man. Adeline Ted, we got to play tough against Xavier and not overshoot the 3. So there you go. Representing. Yeah, I don't know. Illinois coming out of Big Ten. Big Ten was good this year. So Xavier's mean, though. I didn't want to draw them. I was hoping BYU would not get Xavier in their little quad. Rock and Rant checking in. Contributor extraordinaire. Somebody who started another set of shows on what's that? What's it?
College Football
Thank you.
Express.
There you go. College Football Express. Just a second. I have to write that down.
You got to do the toot at the end of it, though.
College do we have a sounder for him, Moen?
For Rock and Rant, let me see here.
All right, while you're doing that, sorry about that. I didn't have that queued up.
Tell them to bring me my money.
So everybody check them out on YouTube. We're going to be doing a lot of stuff with them and their growth. Hopefully we can do whatever we can to get them up on numbers as well. Moen is Dr. Detroit's brother from another mother. There you go.
Love Dr. Detroit.
Let's see here. I'm getting other people that I haven't said hi to. We got off to a banging start tonight, guys. A lot of people are in early. Let's see. Lee checking in. This is about right for Lee. About a half hour after we start. No Super League, Lee says.
No Super League. No Super
League.
There you go. And then last but not least, Fox Kindaro says, Bond San's Japanese conversion surgery was the most realistic depiction of cosmetic surgery ever filmed. I don't know what that is.
Vox and I were talking about Bond films in the chat. You only live twice. Do you remember You Only Live Twice?
Of course I do.
That's my favorite Sean Connery Bond movie.
Really?
You Only Live Twice. Yes.
Yeah.
I see. I think everybody says Goldfinger, and
Goldfinger's great.
Goldeneye is brilliant. And I think you can't take Sean Connery off of any list. So all of Sean Connery's, except for the last one when he was semi-retired.
You want to hear a controversial take, guys? Roger
Moore
go ahead.
That's what we're here for. Controversial takes.
Roger Moore was the best James Bond.
Oh, now that come on now. What are you talking? Defend Roger Moore to me.
I will defend it this way. Roger Moore is supposed to be a debonair, or James Bond is supposed to be a debonair playboy, get any woman. Sean Connery, he did not have the charm or the wit of a Roger Moore. Trust me, Roger Moore, all the way. Roger Moore. I listen. The Spy Who Loved Me is my favorite Bond movie. My favorite Bond movie.
Okay.
And
right.
I like
think
Roger
that
Moore.
Something has to do with your age. That's what I would say.
That might be.
Because I grew up with Sean Connery on late at night, all the old Bond movies. And Roger Moore was contemporaneous, right? He started about the same time I start. Well, he was what, 75 or something?
72, I believe, was his first film.
Okay, so I grew up on those and not the ones that Roger Moore did. So I think I'll admit my bias. I think it had to do a lot with what the shows I grew up on. But Ute, what's your opinion? Do you have a personal favorite?
Pierce Brosnan.
Okay, again, I think we're following generations here. I think that makes total sense. So Goldeneye, right?
Goldeneye, absolutely.
Goldeneye was, that's definitely my second on any list.
But Sean Connery was good. I've seen some of these old ones and stuff. He has some serious back hair going on, and I believe he's loved it. I always really liked that. Like, there's all about that, you know? Like,
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. He's a man of gold.
John Boxleitner agrees with Moen about Roger Moore. The Spy Who Loved Me is the best.
Yeah,
All right.
absolutely.
That's what we're here for, people's opinions. Thank you so much. So we made it through the list, Moen. So you want to get why don't you kick off with will big money be enough to push programs to the P2? Go ahead.
Well, you heard it from Greg last night, and I will reiterate it here. It's true. It's true. It's damn true. There are men with money in the billions that are out there claiming that they're going to write checks. They're going to write checks to improve facilities. They are going to write checks to improve rosters. They're going to write checks to help make sure that revenue sharing is maxed out. There are a lot of people, and we talked about them last week, and Duke is one of them, and they're not the only one of them, that have people whispering in power brokers' ears and saying, get us in. Let us in. Here's what we can do for you. Here's what you can do for us, but here's what we can do for you more. And there's a lot of things going on behind the scenes, guys. Cloak and Dagger does not even begin to describe it. It is high-level stuff. It is quid pro quo on a scale that I don't think I've ever seen. You're having things that are mentioned that have nothing to do with football, have nothing to do with academics, but we're going to do this for you, or our company is going to do this for you, or my foundation will do this for you. So big money is coming into play in the arena of college football realignment. Now, will it play is the question. Will it play? I don't know. That remains to be seen. But there are people out there, and there are reasons to believe that there's some schools out there that people might be sleeping on right now, with big money backers out there trying to get them to make sure that they're going to be in the Power 2 when this is all said and done by 2030.
Can you elaborate any more without burning anything up? Okay, we know Duke. You mentioned Duke. Greg mentioned Duke. Is there any other?
All right,
what
here
conferences are we talking about?
Let me try and put this out here for you. There are two white whales the Big Ten has been chasing. There are two. Everybody knows the first one. What's the first one?
Duke, Stanford?
No. White whale.
Notre Dame. Notre Dame is the white whale.
There's a second white whale that the Big Ten's been chasing that has nothing to do with athletics. Does anybody know who? No.
Duke?
Nope.
Wait a second. Back up.
Second white whale.
What it is again?
It is a second white whale the Big Ten has been pursuing.
Oh, North Carolina.
No, absolutely not. They have their lacrosse inside the Big Ten. I'm talking about John Hopkins.
Okay, so somebody that doesn't play football.
They don't play football. They
Okay,
play lacrosse.
right.
But Johns Hopkins is probably the largest medical research university this side of the hemisphere, possibly in the entire earth. They're in a situation called the Ivy Public Library System. If
these libraries.
Yeah, you're losing
as
my
is
thread
Duke,
here, Owen.
as is Duke, and as is Stanford.
Okay.
I have heard that should certain things be made, that the Big Ten has pursued Johns Hopkins to join their academic alliance multiple times now.
Okay.
Johns Hopkins has always declined, choosing to stay in the IV system instead of the BTAA.
Sure.
There's a possibility, or somebody's making the claim that they could get Johns Hopkins to potentially join the Big Ten Academic Alliance if certain conditions are met by the Big Ten. And one of those conditions is taking a certain school.
Oh, and what is that school?
Is that not Johns Hopkins?
Johns Hopkins doesn't play. They can only be an affiliate member. They can't.
Yeah, they don't play football.
Yeah,
so Johns Hopkins is trying to vouch for another school?
No, another school is saying that they could put pressure on Johns Hopkins if they were a member of the conference to come in with them to the Big Ten Academic Alliance.
Okay, so let's jump back to football.
Yes.
Okay, so in a football sense that everybody can recognize, everybody knows Notre Dame is on that list.
It
But
absolutely is.
the Big Ten, if they took only Notre Dame, which they still could do, they really need to bring somebody else.
They
So,
absolutely do.
about Johns Hopkins. Tell me somebody that matters in college football.
Well, the team that would bring Johns Hopkins would be the team that matters.
Okay.
And
They're
I would
in
just,
New York, right? Hopkins.
I believe they're in Maryland, actually. But
yeah, they're northeast up there.
But
somewhere.
it doesn't matter. But I'm just saying this is one of the things that I've heard is being offered as a sweetener to the pot. That, hey, you guys always wanted to get Johns Hopkins in. We're tight with Johns Hopkins. If you let us in for athletics and as a full member, et cetera, we'll bring in Johns Hopkins.
And that's
with
your
us.
Duke. That's where Duke comes in.
I'm not going to say who's coming in, but, speaking of Notre Dame, there's also a situation with Notre Dame. Notre Dame wants to have like-minded universities in whichever conference they end up in. And that means private universities. Right now, there are 2 private universities in the Big Ten, Northwestern and USC. The ACC has more private universities. Duke, Stanford, private universities. Notre Dame, private universities. Also, we believe that the Big Ten thinks that having more private universities will indemnify it from certain things in the future, mainly public employee status. Right now, having 2 out of 18, it's an outlier. If they could get to 4 or 5 or 6 private schools within their conference, they believe it would indemnify them from, if the antitrust exemption doesn't get passed, it would indemnify them from having public employees.
That is extremely complex.
I
mean,
I don't disagree with you. I do
You're
not
talking
disagree with
5
you,
or
mate.
6D chess to get to what is an exclusionary football conference. This is the same discussion you and I had 2 weeks ago.
It's not an exclusionary football conference.
It really is. It really is.
It really isn't. It isn't. And,
Yeah,
and
we
I know you
let's
and I
not do this
disagree on
again
this.
because we just
We're not going to argue it again, but
yeah, we're just
this
disagreeing.
is the Big Ten is looking to mold an entire top to
I know.
bottom conference in
They
their
want to live on a different planet. Okay, we get it.
So Moan, yeah. So the school that's trying to is tight with John Hopkins, okay? Like it sounds like Virginia to me. I mean, speculations. Like it sounds a lot like Virginia to me, like something that
North
Virginia
Carolina
would do.
Duke. Could be Wake
It's Duke.
Forest.
It's Duke. Okay, it's Duke.
Duke.
Yeah. Okay.
It's Duke.
Yeah,
It's Duke. Okay.
Okay.
But this is what I'm saying. You've got big money people out here pushing these narratives and pot sweeteners and all this stuff. It's a beauty pageant. And we talked about it in the group chat the other day. This is a beauty pageant for 2030. Everybody is trying to come up with whatever they can to make themselves as attractive as possible for the Big Ten and the SEC.
Absolutely true. Everything you're saying there is absolutely true. It's 100% correct.
In addition, you're going to have, yes, you're going to say Duke doesn't bring anything in football. That's absolutely true. There are going to be other brands that help grease certain schools, and certain schools help grease their skids on getting into the Big Ten and the SEC. Schools that necessarily aren't huge athletic brands, but can bring along a huge athletic brand and lift it up and elevate it. And,
let me ask you a question, Moan. Okay, I'm following you and stuff. Isn't there a risk of diluting your athletic media? Obviously, your media rights and everything else. Like, I get. This is we're talking about schools. It's just athletics is just a small part of it. It's all about the academics, right?
No.
Go to school, but like
you're
100%. You add a
right.
Duke, you are diluting yourself. You add another school like Stanford, you're diluting yourself. Like, so you are actually creating a worse football product by doing.
You're creating a slightly worse football product bringing in Duke, but Duke is the number 1 basketball brand. Sure. That can be argued. There's value in that. There is value in that. There's athletic value in Duke. But the thing is, Duke would bring another school that does lift that value up with them athletically.
Yeah.
And Duke would use their ability to help uplift that school to maybe where it's more of a similar status of a other Big Ten school. For example, helping them get AAU status. And then that school would also come in with Duke. They would basically quid pro quo grease each other's skids to make that transition happen. I think you're going to have a blend of, you're going to get a blend of these academic schools. You're going to get a blend of these markets that the media partners wants, and you're going to get a blend of these athletic schools that bring value.
This is the kind of stuff that would create a situation where Super League could work. Like, you do this kind of stuff enough and you dilute yourself enough by playing these little games and stuff and not just getting the best brands for football. That's going to open up the risk of a Super League taking your best brands. Like, I'm just telling you, like, that is exactly what they want. It's like, okay, play the academics and everything. I get it. Have your Big Ten Academic Alliance, but we're going to pay you 10 times as much just to play football over here. So you're risking yourself by grabbing bad football brands and diluting yourself. You're opening yourself up to a Super League pursuit more and more and more. It's going to be more attractive in the future with more money. I'm telling you guys, like, it's not helping Big Ten by adding Duke. It's not helping anyone's payouts. It's dilutive, 100%. I don't care about the basketball brand. It will be dilutive. If you add a Miami or football brand stuff, you add that combo or stuff, it's still going to be dilutive.
I understand what you're saying, I completely understand. I'm just telling you what I've heard. And Duke isn't the only one that's doing this. There are other schools that are doing this. We can talk about the Big 12 and why they haven't landed that capital deal they were supposed to land 3 weeks ago. The ACC situation, from what I've heard, has kind of put the brakes on that a little bit. That some people who were yes may now be going, let's wait.
Yeah, I don't. So let's talk about that,
Yeah,
because I think that's a good. Let's talk about that, because at the end of the day, everything you're saying, and you have everybody in the chat is supporting you, Moen, right? They're all saying this has all happened. Dark magic, black things behind the curtain, absolutely are happening, and I can't deny that that's going on. I just keep coming back to keep it simple, stupid, and that is realignment's about football and driving revenue, which is what you just touched on. So this point you just made, how does the ACC timer of 2030 change or affect what your black magic machinations behind the curtain have been talking about? Because if the ACC was as simple as take the best 4 brands, write a check, and this thing's done, why are they waiting? Why not just do that?
It's because the people who are making the decisions are waiting.
For what, though?
They
you already said they have the money. You already said they have the drive.
It's a beauty pageant.
But what's going to change in the next 5 years? Aren't they pretty today?
They're pretty today, but they could be a lot prettier in 5 years. You never know. You don't take the first deal that's put on the table, Nate.
The way you're sounding, it's like we're at the Paris runway and everybody's going to put on a dress and they're going to walk.
We are in the Miss America contest, and in 2030, these people are going to put on a show.
They're putting on a show now.
They are now, but they're still
doing
need
it right
time
this
to do
second.
these things. Yes, but they need money so they can say, "Hey, look, we're renovating our stadium. We're doing that."
2 different things at the exact same time. You're saying Academic Alliance, John Hopkins, all this stuff's happening over here.
That's a sweetener.
It's
yes.
all part of the beauty pageant.
And then everything over here really doesn't matter because this will offset whatever happens over here.
No, I'm saying you're going to have a balance. I'm saying that, yes, you might end up with a Duke, and the Johns Hopkins thing might happen. It might not happen. But what if Duke brings somebody along with them that does elevate the value?
Somebody has to show me. Somebody has to show me the why.
Let's just say hypothetically it's Clemson. Duke helps Clemson get AAU status, brings AAU along with them to the Big 10.
Okay. Let's say that.
It's a balance.
I don't understand.
The academics in the conference get something they want. The media partners get something they want. And it's not as dilutive as you think it's going to be. Especially
they're not $70 million. You worked it out. They're a $60 million brand.
Right now they are, sure. I don't disagree. What
is
happens
going
if
to
they
change
run?
that?
What happens if they run for the
years?
next 3 years and win the next 3 national championships?
That obviously would change the dynamic, right?
so
That would, but
that's
that's
why
a
you would-
prove it. That's a prove it thing.
And that's why you would want to wait until 2030 to see who the best candidates are available in 2030.
But at the
or when
same
that
time,
league
what you're
falls apart.
saying, let's say Utah was way up here 2 years ago for the Big Ten, and Utah goes on a bender. Their basketball brand is way down right now, and their football brand has to climb back. What if they don't make it back in 5 years? Your
They might
buddies that are Big Ten people, are they still going to look at Utah and say, oh, nope, sorry, they didn't make the Paris runway show. They didn't
Well,
improve enough. So
they
they're off.
might.
They're off the mark.
They might.
The beauty
Oh,
pageant.
gosh.
Absolutely.
You got some
might.
acne or something in the beauty pageant, you know,
Yeah,
it
it's
just didn't
just-
work out very well.
Listen,
I-
I
yeah,
know
it-
people don't listen.
That's so trite.
Like,
It's so
I-
trite.
and,
to say
Nate,
it that
I
way.
agree with you, Nate, like in a lot of things you're saying, but I do think Moan's correct about this. I do think it's basically like bowing down and offering your
I
gifts to
just-
the
I
Big
can't
Ten
go there.
and the SEC, right?
Maybe in
I
5
guess
years
this is
I'll
how-
be there.
But like, and guess what? If the Big 12 were in that position, we'd be doing the same thing. You've got the power, kiss the ring, give me your
I
best
guess.
if you have, right?
I guess.
guess
I don't think that's what's going to happen.
Use this power.
I don't think
like-
realignment needs to occur to have the best football brands play for national championship. I don't think. it
I
has
don't
anything
either.
to
That's
do
why
with
we've got the college
conferences.
football playoff.
I think to
Yeah.
have a playoff, you just grab the best teams, and you just elevate those brands and just play football. Then you can do whatever you want on your conference level. It doesn't matter.
I
of the
understand where
two,
you're
which is
coming
more
from.
complex? Of the two, which is more complex?
For
You have a brand new subdivision of the best football brands, 60, 70 schools. You don't have to change realignment an iota, or
That's more complex. than
some
that.
quasi black magic behind the curtain thing that all this is happening in the background, and the only way you're involved is you have to go up and, like you say, kiss the ring, and that could mean multiple things. And
Yeah.
everybody's saying yes, they support. That's what's going to happen. Okay, if that was going to happen, the Pac-12 would not have disintegrated, and they would have just merged with the Big Ten. Because your academic alliance, your AAU, all those things were in line before. The ACC wouldn't be dying right now, or it would be already dead because the Big Ten would have swallowed up these schools because it doesn't matter what they're worth. It
Once
doesn't
again,
make any sense. You're
It
trying to
does-
sell something doesn't make any sense.
just because you're not buying it, Bomber, does not mean it does not make sense.
From
If you
from
ask
everything
anybody,
that got us
any-
here, it doesn't make sense.
Okay. Ask anybody in the Big Ten if it makes sense. Ask
To the
anybody
Big
in the
Ten,
SEC.
it doesn't make sense to the SEC. Certainly doesn't make sense.
certainly
to the rest
probably
of the
doesn't to
world.
the SEC, but that doesn't matter. The Big Ten isn't concerned about what the SEC thinks.
Okay, the
The
Big
Big
Ten's
Ten
not
isn't
going to be
concerned
the
about what the
NFL
Big
light,
12
Moen.
thinks.
I don't care what you say. The Big Ten is not going to turn into NFL light.
Okay.
They're not going to be able to rule the world.
All right. We'll see.
Yeah, we definitely will see. I didn't know this narrative had all of a sudden taken over, where all we're talking about now is in realignment is who can write the biggest check and who is in the background doing all these other things that are going to circumvent all the checks and balances we know have been involved in realignment. I am not going to get on that train. All of a sudden, everybody's like, oh, wait, this makes more sense. We're just going to do it. What changed the dynamics that we've been using for 2 years? Where's the math
think-
that's changed?
I think the settlement between the ACC changed the perceptions of a lot of people.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think that they necessarily believed this was going to happen before 2036. I think now that it has, I think you see the smaller schools in the ACC, Georgia Tech, Duke, some of the smaller ones making plans, contacting people, trying to get their ducks in a row. Listen, money at the end of the day is what moves everything. And whatever makes the conference as a whole the most money is what the conference is going to look towards doing.
Antoine Johnson says 8 to 10 teams are driving college football revenue in the Big and the SEC. Going to 15 total is a stretch. The rest of those schools are dilutive. If you just want to have the best brands, you're talking 18 to 24 teams. Is the nation going to watch NFL Light with 18 to 24 teams? Of course not.
Well, who has?
Probably they will.
I think. Yeah,
I
they.
disagree with that. I think they will.
Who's going to watch? You don't think they kill the golden goose? If that separated, if that happened right there, you don't think it would break what college football is? Because what college football is the aspirational. That's why it's popular. People aspire to be involved. Boise State, Tulane, Memphis, BYU, Utah, aspiring to be successful and being included. You get rid of that aspiration. You just go to 2 divisions and the best, DMA play each other and you get a championship at the end of the year. I think that is an absolutely crazy idea.
I still have the NFL. NFL's national, right? Like, so you have football. People are hungry for good football, right? They want to root for their alma maters and stuff.
Don't we think that good football happened this last year in the college football playoff? Didn't we have some amazing games?
Great games and everything. It's
Okay, so
it's just about like it's about the money though. When we're talking about Super League, it's 2 different things. Super League is just what we think of like for traditional realignment, the best football brands pulling away for the most money. That is the Super League mentality, right?
yes.
But then like conference realignment, especially in Big Ten circles, is this mix. Like it's the beauty pageant. You have to have the academics, you have to have the AAU, you have to have the football, you have to have the facilities, you have to have the culture, you have to have the best candidate. You go in the beauty pageant to get into their club in the conference. And like it's different. Super League's just about football brands. Realignment in the Big Ten, especially, is the beauty pageant of the Big Ten. It's just different worlds, I think we're talking about.
But there are other conferences that are also going through realignment that are trying to do everything they can to stay relevant. It's not just the Big Ten, right?
Not just the Big Ten. In every single conference, like when we're talking about Pac-12 realignment, guess what? They don't have the leverage to play beauty pageant as much, right? They have to look at
Well, at
something
all.
like
I
a
would say
driver like
zero.
football,
They have
right?
zero
So
leverage.
their realignment game is going to be different than the Big Ten's because of the power dynamic. And
Okay,
so
but
it's
that's assuming
subjective,
everybody
too.
else is just going to roll over and let the Big Ten do whatever they want. I don't think that's going to happen. How does that benefit the SEC? Let's not even talk about
SEC
everybody
is
else.
doing it too.
Not really. They're not talking about this academic black magic, all this other stuff. They just want to play football.
Yeah, listen, Nate, we're never going to agree on this, but the SEC is doing the exact same thing. They may not be doing it at the same level the Big Ten is, but yes, they're vetting candidates.
Oh, I know they are. I'm not saying they're not doing that.
They
I'm
have
not saying
data
they're not
points that
doing
are
that.
important to them too. And yes, they would like to increase the academic rating of their conference. That's why you would go get a Virginia and a North Carolina. Not only do they do that, Kansas is a third one. Those are all AAU schools. Those all boost up your academic relevance along with increasing your sports. Well, except for Virginia.
I just don't. Okay. Yeah. All of a sudden, all the realignment math has disappeared. All of a sudden, we're dealing with something completely different. And yeah, I think this is going to be something that is going to continue to change until we get more facts on the ground. Because all we're dealing with right now is rumor, and let's see some things actually happen, and then we can address those changes as they happen one at a time. Go ahead, you.
Yeah, so check this out. So I think this is good to always reflect on. I'm going to share the financial statements for the Ohio State University, okay? Just to kind of have a discussion about something. Just pull this online. Anyone can get it. This is the 2023-2024 annual financials, the annual financial report. This is Ohio State. But check it out. These numbers are in thousands. So in tuition in 2024, Ohio State got almost $1.1 billion in tuition. They got different from grants. They got $1.1 billion in grants. And their total revenues they reported were almost $8 billion. So we're talking about football and our athletic department about $200 million to $250 million versus the university system of almost $8 billion. So realignment is about sports. But when we're bringing up things like AAU and research dollars, it's because you're basically adding into these different buckets for all your revenue for your university. Ohio State's $8 billion per year organization, and sports is contributing $250 million to the $8 billion. It's just so they want to jump up and boost this whole $8 billion to go to $9 billion, $10 billion quick. Adding a Duke might get you there quicker with the relationships that a Duke has. So it's just how are you going to fuel that? How are you going to grow the school, right? So it's just something to think about too when we're talking about this.
It's really important to understand we're probably also mixing our terms a little bit. What is Super League to Moen might not be what's Super League in my head or Utes, right? We all have it a little bit different, and that's what brings different things. Disagreement comes with that. And I think at the end of the day, we want what's best for college football, all three of us, and we want the schools that we represent to have the best opportunity to be successful. I will tell you this, and I'm going to take this comment here. Who was this? It was Go Black 45. As I'm going through the comments, says Bomber, who can write the biggest check, has always been part of college football. It just need more out in the semi-open now. And while that's true, if that's the case, then I don't know many people that can write a check bigger than BYU could write. So if that's all we're talking about, if we're going to break it down to just that much,
well, I'm sure BYU is out there doing these things.
I'm not saying they are.
The number one recruit in the nation.
Yeah, no, the point is if you boil it down to just who can write the biggest checks, then what you're going to come up with is not necessarily the best football Super League. If that's how you do it. Because SMU will be in. You'll have Wake Forest maybe has a booster. Oregon State has the second richest guy in America as one of their graduates. If somebody wrote them a check for $1 billion, all of a sudden Oregon State is now sitting in the Big Ten just because they could hand them a big check.
Again, I think we're confusing things. You're thinking of this as a Super League. I'm just saying this is conference expansion. The Big Ten has
that's realignment. That's not Super League.
The Big Ten has data points that they like. They have their types.
Okay, and that's
AAU
fair.
And things like that. And yes, I understand Duke is not the biggest, best brand in football. But if the SEC were to pick up North Carolina and the Big Ten wants to get in the North Carolina market, and it makes Notre Dame happy because they have another private school in the conference with them, it maybe makes Miami happy. It maybe makes, somebody in the Big Ten happy. Maybe Michigan and Wisconsin, they have a huge block in the Big Ten. It makes them happy for that to happen.
So you just said something and I forgot to touch on this. We did talk about it a few minutes ago. Everything you're saying is assuming Notre Dame is involved.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. And there's reasons why is because they bring a value with them that can not only support their school being in the Big Ten, but could half support another school being in the Big Ten. That's how much the media value would be.
In media value, yes.
And it would subsidize bringing on a Duke. Let's just say it's a Duke, okay, as their travel partner.
For pure media valuation.
All of this is, and we need to, this cannot end. Every time we talk about this, we have to circle back to this. Do you think, and we'll go around the horn, do you think Notre Dame ever joins a conference?
Yes.
Okay. I don't think Notre Dame ever joins the conference. I don't think they have to. Obviously, now, Moen, you're saying for sure they're going to be joining a conference?
I think after the next realignment wave, they have to. I don't think there's any way for them to remain independent in that landscape.
What is the have to?
What is the
why?
I'm not following you. Why
what is the
one,
must?
You've got to park your Olympic sports in some kind of conference. The amount of Olympic sports, Big East doesn't support all their sports.
The MACU, they can put it in any conference.
Again, you're gonna split them into 15 different conferences.
No, I think the Rump ACC is still going to be around.
Well, again, how much of that's going to be left, and how much value's in that? Are they going to strike a deal with the Big 12 to play them in football? I mean,
maybe,
but that NBC deal, we know it's based on a sliding scale.
Well, the NBC deal hasn't been signed yet, so
we don't know. Anytime. We have no idea whether the NBC Notre Dame deal's been signed.
Bob said no, not so much.
You're saying the Big 10 media deal.
I'm talking about the NBC deal. Oh, sorry, I am talking about the Big Ten,
yes.
not.
I'm talking about.
We don't know about Notre Dame's. Right. We never saw Notre Dame.
But we do know from reports, and Bob will confirm this. It's a sliding scale. That's why they were so interested in getting Miami, Clemson, and Florida State
right
on that schedule. Now, listen, if Miami, Florida, and Clemson State suddenly aren't there, and maybe what's left in the ACC is Wake Forest, Boston College, Syracuse. you're not going to be driving huge ratings against those teams.
Yeah,
It's
but
going to lower.
you're talking about the Olympic sports though. Those don't drive ratings anyway, so it
Well,
doesn't
no,
really
but
matter.
I'm bringing it up on why they wouldn't remain football independent. To get the best scheduling, they would have to join a conference. I don't think there's any conference that would let them remain independent.
I think the Big 12 would. I think
Well, the
they could
Big
find
12 would,
people
but
who
I don't
would
think
allow
that
them
they
to
could.
do it.
Yeah, I think the Big 12 could, but I don't think that Notre Dame would do it.
I don't know. I think SEC might do it if all things are equal. I don't have a reason why they need to join the Big Ten.
I think it boils down to you're thinking Super League. I'm not
thinking. Don't quit saying that. I'm not thinking Super League. I'm literally saying, boiling it down to just Notre Dame. You keep putting these things together, these ideas of how all these machinations could be going along, and every one of them starts with Notre Dame joins the Big Ten. And I'm just saying.
I didn't say it starts with Notre Dame. I said it's a part of it.
Okay, how can it exist without Notre Dame? How about we say it that way?
Okay,
how
you could start with Miami. You take Miami right off the board, Florida. Miami, Florida, you've got top 7
I think
DMA.
Miami's a great pickup for the Big Ten.
Got a top 7 DMA right there. That will boost your media value.
Okay.
You can pick up a Georgia Tech. That's a top 5 DMA. That immediately boosts your media value. At that point, you remove
immediately boost their
No,
and that's not true. You're making stuff up. That's not true.
Okay, look up what's the DMA for Atlanta?
It's large. It's
the
gotta be
DMA is
one of the
large.
largest
Their value
DMAs.
is very small. Moen, when we did the realignment breakdown of Notre Dame,
And why did you take UCLA to control Los Angeles? Why did you need that? Because Los Angeles
is LA.
is a large.
They're not the same. You can't compare
Dude,
LA and
I am
Atlanta.
telling you, you do me a favor, look up the Atlanta DMA.
Yeah, I want to know. No,
All right,
not
we'll look up the DMAs. Okay. We got a sports media watch to see.
Georgia Tech value. What's the Georgia Tech value on your breakdown?
Sure, you get them for half price.
45 million, 50 million, something like this.
It's still going to boost your rate. It's still going to boost your media valuations in your next media deal.
Oh my gosh. How do you know that? You're just
I'm
saying
looking
that?
at the DMA. I'm looking at the population demographics. I'm looking at the growth, the rate of growth in those markets.
Okay.
They are fast growing markets with upperly mobile people who spend money and are Big Ten alumni.
That's okay. The same arguments were in the Pac-12 are being made in the ACC. They're struggling to keep the thing together by saying, "Hey, we're going to be worth more in 5 years."
Yeah, but they're not going to be paid more because they signed a 20-year deal. That's why they tried to get out.
Everybody wants out.
Well, in particular,
ACC
North
deal.
Carolina, Virginia, Clemson, Florida State, and Miami.
But you didn't say Georgia Tech.
Well, I don't think Georgia Tech necessarily wants out right now. I think they want to wait. I think they'd prefer to wait till 2030.
Yeah, we broke down the values of all the ACC schools, and Georgia Tech was middling at best.
Atlanta, number 7.
That's great. I'm not denying this. Not the 7th in DMA. I'm talking about the media values that you worked out in our realignment calculator.
Yeah, I mean, I think that with those, I mean, Georgia Tech's been on a heater the last couple of years in football ratings. They do have got a big DMA. I mean, I think that they bring value, but I'm with you, Bomber. They don't bring. If you're looking at like an absolute number, like say, is Georgia Tech going to bring $80 million?
70 million is. I've been generous.
I doubt it. Right? Like I'm with you on that one. But like, is it close enough where it's not going to really move the needle that much for everybody? Right? Like that's Moan's point.
All these ideas revolve around the fact that Notre Dame is going to join the conference.
I just gave you 2 examples where Notre Dame didn't
those
have to join
those
the
examples
conference.
are based on what though? They're not today numbers. They're hopeful numbers.
They're not hopeful numbers, Nate. Look at the demographics of the populations moving to Atlanta and North Carolina.
DMA is not everything, Moen.
Okay, but it is something, Nate.
Okay, I'm not denying that. I'm saying
it's a part of it. They want the best eyeballs for their brands.
Okay.
And they want to have their alumni be able to see their teams in Atlanta, in Miami.
Can you see my side at all? Are you so blinded by what you're saying that you're not able to? Because 6 months ago, when we talked about Georgia Tech, when we talked about Georgia Tech 6 months ago, it was a completely different page. Completely different conversation for what their value would be. Then they went on a heater, like you said. They played well last year in football. The year before, I don't think so much. So they had 1 year, and all of a sudden now Atlanta's the destination for the Big 10.
It has nothing to do with their performance on the field, Nate.
Okay.
Again,
all the things that Bob told us in the calculator for valuation.
I understand what Bob told us.
DMA is not the only thing, and
but it is an important thing to the people in the Big Ten.
Oh, gosh.
It is.
I don't know how this has happened.
Angeles.
I don't know what's happened, but either you're getting information you're not sharing with us, and that's fair. You know things that Ute and I simply don't understand, or what you're communicating does not make any sense to the people that have been watching us for 2 years.
It doesn't make sense to you. I can completely understand that.
Because it comes out of
guys,
left field.
we got some super chats to get to and everything. Let's get to this comment real quick by Rock and Rant.
Yeah, go ahead.
So
go ahead,
great, Ute. I can't unsee the back hair image now. So we're talking about Sean Connery. Look it up. The guy's got some seriously amazing back hair, especially in the movie Goldfinger. Check it out.
You only live twice, too. He's getting that bath, and you only live twice. He's got
oh my gosh!
back.
Can we get to those other super chats? There we go.
Go ahead, you. No, you go ahead. You're on it. Go.
All right. So Kenneth Maynard says, I could see Duke and Stanford used as leverage to encourage UNC and Notre Dame to join the Big Ten, and then at Florida State and Miami to get to 24. What do you think about that, Moan?
See, I don't think you're going to get Duke and North Carolina. I think you're going to get one or the other. And I think North Carolina is probably going to be SEC, along with Virginia. So I think you end up with Duke. Stanford, yeah. Stanford's another one. Big private school, big research dollars. San Francisco's a big market. That one makes sense to me. Florida State's still the outlier to me. I think Florida State still has a lot of work to do. Got to get that AAU status. I think it would be beneficial for them to have something a little bit beyond. They've got a great nursing school, but I think they need something a little bit beyond that to make up for some of the medical research. But they're a possibility. And then Miami as well.
Florida State. We have the biggest upside in the Big Ten. Nate and I have talked about this before and before. Out of all the schools we've ever talked about, the biggest athletic opportunity out of all of them is Florida State, the Seminoles, in the Big Ten Conference. To me, it's not even a second thought. Like, I can't believe that that's not a no-brainer still.
Yeah.
Like, I still think it gets done. I really do still think it gets done because it's such a good investment opportunity for the Big Ten.
Well, I think the opportunity. I think what you said is right. It is the opportunity, right? Like, so if we extrapolate on a lot of the stuff that Moen's been saying, you could say as a future investment property, Florida State would be at the top of that list. I could see that happening, but again, you had the academic alliances and all these other things that really matter to the Big Ten. Is that going to allow them to pick them? I don't know. I still don't think, and I know people have come in and clipped out some of the things we've said in the past. Currently, today, I think the ACC schools they all have challenges to go somewhere. Nobody brings, except for Notre Dame, brings the value that they could just walk in and here we are, we're part of the club. They don't. 70 is probably low. 80 is probably a better number to say you'd have to carry to being equal. But they could come in at half share, right? And they could be there for a while, and then they could build up the AAU. They could do these other things to get there. So I just don't know if the SEC wants them. That's the thing. We thought they did, and then last year happened, and then nobody got taken. So that told us a lot of different things in the brand valuation. So
yeah, the wanter. I mean, like I'm telling you guys, Florida State. Like I get it, I totally get it. The academic fit and everything else, like they've got work to do, building relationships. They've outside people in the Big Ten, improving the infrastructure, AAU research spending, and everything else. But like, Moen, you and I both know as just mega brands, like, and how much on just the athletic side, Florida State would drive ratings and push Big Ten. In my view, it's the thing that would push Big Ten more than the SEC in football. That one move, Florida State and the Big Ten, is the one move to get you over the top and be the best. I think a lot of people would agree with that too.
I can't necessarily disagree with that, but I mean, I have to look at it from the point of view is that what the Big Ten wants, or does the Big Ten see 2 schools in Florida and just say we need just one, and the bigger DMA is Miami? It's already got AAU status, already has a medical school, already has an integrated health system, those sorts of things. So, but we'll see. I mean, we're going to find out. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. But if you listen to certain people, Florida State's had an open invite to the Big Ten for the last year. So.
I want to thank Kenneth Maynard for the $10 super chat. Thank you so much, Kenneth. We really appreciate
Let
that.
him cook. Let him cook.
Thank you so much.
Oh, it's quite pleasant, actually. It's like a gentle tug. Okay, slightly less gentle now. Oh! My udders are on fire!
All right, that's good. Let's get to, we got a couple more super chats we're going to blast through. And then we do have Greg Flugar has joined the channel. So Greg, just hang out there for me, please. I'm going to go through a few super chats, and then we'll get to you, okay? Becky Go Huskies says, I heard Notre Dame is relocating to Atlanta. They'll play in the Mercedes-Benz Stadium and own the market. $5 super chat. There you go, Moen. That's having fun. Thank you very much, Becky. We appreciate all you do for us.
Hey, Becky, try not to steal any mopeds on your way out of the chat room.
OPD on $10 super chat says, the Godfather has spoken. Send him a link. So
what did you say in the chat, Greg? What did you say?
I didn't catch what Greg said.
I just said, send me a link if you can.
Okay. All right. Okay. And then
first of all, thank you for having me on your show. Again, another excellent show by Bomber and Wild Ute and Moen. Excellent.
Greg, can I interrupt you really quick? I have one more super chat. I'm sorry.
I apologize.
No, you're good.
Nope.
I'm glad you're here. I apologize for cutting in on what you were saying. I'll give you the time back. Opie Don says Godfather has spoken. Send him a link. We took care of that. Thank you, Opie. And then Daniel Gygax, $5 super chat says Atlanta is a Bulldog, Crimson Tide, and Gator City. That just contains the Georgia Tech campus. That's my thought as well. But we're not going to talk about right now. We're going to talk about this guy right here, Greg Flugar, in the house, the OG. The guy who got us going. Love you, Greg.
Yeah, thanks, guy. Thanks again for letting me go on your show. I apologize to Mr. Gygax for stomping on his generous donation. So I'm just going to tell you guys what I'm hearing, okay?
Okay.
Could be 100% wrong, okay? I don't think so, but it could be. It could be because it's coming from the same, whatever.
Okay.
First of all, when it comes to Duke, and I think me and Moen are in agreement. Maybe, we often disagree a little bit, even when we are in agreement, because he's a Buckeye and I'm a Gopher. But Duke, I consider, and the people that I talk to consider Duke a long shot to get into the Big Ten of the SEC. So let's start there. In who I talk with, okay? Now they could be wrong. Maybe they're a chalk. Maybe they're a favorite. I don't think so, but whatever. But it is without a question of a doubt, their big money people are. They're saying we can knock out every box that we're in control of. We had this report. I can't remember who it was. I saw Mr. Nathan Brown comment on it or liked it, whatever, talking about how it's going to take 10 to 12, $14 million, whatever. Duke's going to be able to do that.
Yeah,
okay?
Basketball, sure.
And then you got Darren Mensah, the quarterback that cost a whole lot of money coming from Tulane. I mean, of all the transfer portal quarterbacks, Mensah, I think, probably was one or two when it comes to money. No problem. Duke got it done. So Duke is telling everybody in the background, what were you guys calling it? Black. I don't know.
I called it black magic.
Got it. Okay, whatever that is.
Black box.
Okay,
black box is another thing too.
Black box. Whatever that is, Duke is saying to everybody, yeah, we're always going to have the ability to compete in this new landscape. Okay, whatever this landscape is. That's what they're saying. And of course, the research and everything. And if you've read Rock and Rant's comments in the chat room, we're talking about this consolidation of brands, consolidation of media, we're bigger conferences. We're also might be on the verge of a consolidation of research. Research might be done differently in the future. Maybe we're not going to get the grants from the federal government like we've had in the past and all that. So we might be looking at that as a reason why a Duke would be elevated in the eyes of the SEC and the Big Ten potentially. Let me just say this before I forget. Every realignment wave is different than the one that just happened. It is. I mean, Rutgers and Maryland were not football ads. No disrespect to Rutgers and Maryland. The Big Ten did not add them for the football brand value. They added them because Delaney was in a panic, and I think he was correct, saying that we need in the Big Ten to change our demographics, to get on to become a 2-region conference, to go where our alumni are, which is in a lot of them are in New Jersey, a lot of them are in Maryland, right? We need to become a 2-region, and they have cable boxes. The economic situation was different then, right? So, but they weren't football brand ads. So the Big Ten has expanded already in its last 10 years without adding football brands. So let's make that part of the history, because that's true. They added UCLA. UCLA was not a football brand ad. It was part of making sure they got the whole city of Los Angeles. And of course, they're a big, number 1, number 2 public university in the country, depending on who you ask. So the motivations of the Big Ten doesn't always line up with making sure they've got the best football brand ads. Their media partners, though, of course, they're the one that's sending the big check to the Big Ten, right?
They're the ones. Really quick, let me ask you a question, Greg, because I think you bring up good points. There's been different phases of realignment. They've all represented different things.
Yeah.
In today's media climate, it is a completely different universe from where we are in 2010, 2011, 2012. They're not even close to being the same. Money then was on getting more eyeballs and expanding ESPN and doing. Now it's not about that. Now it's about a market share and your brand value and stuff. So looking back, would the Big Ten have taken 2 different schools in light of now the current universe? I think there's an argument could be said. Yeah, they might trade those schools for somebody else. They might trade those schools for a Clemson and a Florida State. You could make that argument. So you can't take it out of context. Is all I'm saying. Wow. That's a great realignment phase. Everything you're saying is exactly right. But they do come in different stages of life, right?
Yeah.
And the current media deal driven type stuff, private equity is a whole different universe. Just so everybody knows what we're talking about.
Yeah. Okay. And I think that's what Rutgers. All I'm saying is Rutgers and Maryland were added but they weren't added as football brands.
Right. Okay. I got you.
And the Oregon Washington was the good blend of everything.
Right. We agree.
Football brand multiplier in Washington scratched a lot of the backs of this. So when you're going towards the next realignment wave, and I happen to think there's going to be, some people are out there saying that there's not going to be any more realignment. We're all going to the Super League and the Big Ten and SEC are going to blend in or dissolve or whatever. I don't agree with any of that, but I think there's going to be more realignment, more expansion. For the Big Ten, I think you're going to be looking at, once again, everyone's got to have their back scratched. Everyone's got to be okay with this new expansion. And Nathan, you keep saying, rightly so, why? Why
what's
would
the
Big
why?
Ten? What is
Yeah.
the why? What is
What's
the
the
why?
why? Yep.
Well, and again, I'll answer it this way: market share of college athletics, market share of research, market share of exposure, market share of international exposure, market share, not getting behind the SEC, and the SEC's looking at the Big Ten, don't want to get behind them. ACC and the Big 12 are playing the same game, and the Big 12 and the Pac-12 used to play the same game, and guess what? The Big 12 won.
Yeah.
That's the why. The why is not going behind in the market share, not sliding behind the SEC saying, oh boy, Big Ten taking Virginia, North Carolina. We do not like that. We do not like that, right?
That's a good why, but it doesn't drive the timing. I can't see an urgency to get anything done in the next 5 years.
Sure.
Like, what's the urgency? Why are we anxious?
Well, the urgency is, and again, this gets back to what I happen to be probably in the extreme minority on, and that is, okay. Let me answer it this way: the advisory group between the Big Ten and the SEC. I happen to think that most people have misconstrued what that advisory group is all about.
Okay.
When that was set up, that was because both of those conferences were they've had it with the notion that there was this incredible diversity of universities all under the same umbrella of a governance. And they don't want that anymore. They don't want Michigan to be under the same umbrella of governance as St. Francis.
Right.
They don't want it anymore. That is the primary mover of the advisory group.
Okay.
In reality. So they're trying to get stuff through. They have the power. They're trying to pull in. They're trying to get it done. Beyond that, and a few other things, obviously they're talking about the college football playoffs, right?
Right.
But I think Yormark and Sankey are in agreement when it comes to expanding the basketball tournament. I mean, so it isn't just this advisory group. I think is being misunderstood when I think they're both competing against each other, always, almost always. And so the timing of it is going to have a lot to do with the will and the ability of some of those top brand ACC schools, North Carolina, and the worriness between the Big Ten and the SEC, because I don't think they're playing patty cake with each other at all.
Right.
I don't, and nobody that I talk to believes that's what's going on. Now, of course, most of the people that I talk to in regards to that type of world is Big Ten people. And to be honest with you, they maybe it's because of their elitism, if you want to call it that, or their nerdyism, or whatever you want to label it negatively, whatever. They mock the idea of them ever dissolving into some quasi merger with the SEC. They mock the idea of a super league. They just don't even understand that world. I don't think
that's going to happen. I don't think Ute believes that's going to happen.
And, well, but they might be wrong. So I'm not. Look, they might be wrong. But all I'm just telling you, that is what we.
So Greg, who's mocking this? Like the higher ups of the Big Ten and the SEC?
Well,
the idea of the Super League breakaway.
I'm going to say everybody. I'm going to put a big blanket. Nobody believes in any of this stuff, and I don't think. Well, anybody that I talk with, okay, and that's only. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm not talking with everybody. I mean, maybe the people I'm talking with are completely wrong. But it does sort of affect what I say, because because these are the people that have given me the information on USC and all this other stuff, right? So it's hard for me to go, well, you guys are wrong. It's hard, because they have a long history, right? They gave me all these stories. And so they're saying none of this is true, Greg. There is the SEC and the Big Ten are not plotting. I mean, they threat the breakaway. They might do the breakaway, maybe, possibly. But what they really want is a different governance.
Yes.
They're not pushing the Big 12 and the ACC away. They're not doing that. They're not.
Right.
But they're trying to get they don't like a BYU should not be under the same governance, as a Monmouth or all these other Division I universities that are out there.
Right.
It's just so that's what they're trying to change.
And I think we're going to get there. I think that new division, whatever you want to call it, is going to be the one in charge. And we'll have to see how many schools are invited to sit in that room at the end of the day. Go ahead. Yeah. I got 2 super chats, but go ahead, Greg. I'll let you finish.
Just let me get to Duke, and then I'll shut my big Minnesota mouth.
Okay. All right.
So Duke. I agree with Wild Ute and Nathan Brown.
Yes.
And I think Moen agrees. Duke, the reason why I would have them as a long shot, and the people that I'm talking to are like, yeah, they're really they're aggressive and all this, and they're really the reason why I have a long shot is what you guys have said. They would be somewhat of a drag on the overall media money for the next possible negotiation.
Right.
That's a possibility, right? However, and I've said this on my live show, the Big Ten is talking about this unequal revenue sharing. They are. And the schools within the I was told, and I did a live show on this a couple weeks ago. Yeah, the Big Ten, some of those schools, okay, we'll do a little bit on equal revenue sharing, but we don't want the double squeeze. We don't want the schools that are going to make a little bit less also be told that they have to meet a certain minimum investment in all these sports, to match the Buckeyes and the Wolverines and the Penn State when these schools can't even get there anyways, and now they're making a little bit less. It's the double squeeze.
That's right. Yeah.
That's what they're setting up in the ACC. That's what Jay Billis wants, right?
Right.
Oh, he happens to be strategically, right? Wild Ute. Oh, and happens to be Duke. Oh, and Duke don't have to worry about it, right?
Right.
That's another message. That's a messaging. That's just more of what Moen has been saying. It's out there, guys. Public, private, and it's now to the reporters. And I'm going to leave that alone for the rest of the night. But Duke is doing all this stuff, and maybe they would be a drag. I mean, most of the Big Ten schools are a drag, right? Maybe only 6 Big Ten out of the 18 really overall. What are the milkers or whatever you call it?
Yeah,
cows and the
milkers, the milk
suckers and milk, whatever.
Yeah.
But maybe, there you go. But maybe Duke, maybe one of these things that they're being very aggressive on is we can take care of ourselves. You see the money we got? You see what we're doing in basketball. You see all the NIL money. You see the research money. You see our endowment. You see what we can do? We can come in. We can switch our allegiances when it comes to research consortiums. We can come in. And by the way, we'll take a little bit less. We're okay with that. We're not one of these schools that are going to come in and sue the conference and say we want more than Italy, Minnesota. Right? So that is the game that is being played. When Moen says there is, what do you say, a beauty?
It's a beauty pageant.
Beauty pageant. Not that I'm an expert on beauty pageants, but beauty pageants, right? You got the swimwear, you got the gown, and you got
Duke's not winning swimwear.
Yeah,
Duke's not going to win the swimwear.
Okay, but they're winning the talent competition.
Yeah,
Duke's going to go out there and they're going to sing on tune.
Yeah, I just Yeah.
So it's the
Okay.
it's the beauty pageant of it all, and that takes time. I'm gonna leave it. I'm gonna shut up. I swear to you, I'm gonna shut up after I say this.
Okay, Duke, keep going, Duke.
When on March 31st, 2022, when we got the call that USC called the Big Ten, but it wasn't on March 31st that happened. It was before. We never found out the date, but it took months. We knew it was going on. Things were going on, right? The Colorado, the meeting in May 7th in Chicago, it still took until July 27th, right?
Yep.
Oregon and Washington met in Washington, D.C. and New York separately with the Big Ten, and yet it took months because the Big Ten needed the Big 12 to poach, because that's what the legal counsel. So some of this time, it's going to take months, even if they are having first party talks, which I haven't heard that they have.
Okay.
But I'm saying it's going to take months, even if it's going on right now. So the timing of it, it could be hot, Nathan. It could be hot right now, and we're not.
Right.
We're going to try to find out, but we may not find out for months. We do know, and I'll shut up after this. We do know, without a shadow of a doubt, this wasn't first party talks. This isn't earth shattering, but we do know that Duke big money people, because this was the lead into people telling me what was going on. Duke big money people talked to some really big money people somewhere in the South, and it was a big, the biggest money people that there is, and they've had some discussions with people in the South. So there it is. That's why I brought it up. Okay.
First of all, that I'm going to give you that was a nice speech, Greg. Thank you for coming on. I appreciate it. I just want to be on the record. Yeah, thank you, man. I just want to be on the record and say, is Duke an easy match with the Big Ten? Of course it is. Let's just get that off the table. We don't have to talk about that anymore. The only question that we're having is Duke the number one right now. All of a sudden,
I think they're a dark horse,
and that's one way to look at it, right? You say, okay, they had these talks. They're like saying, bring us in. We'll come into the third chair, like Washington State and Oregon State. Sorry, wow, Washington and Oregon did, and and then we're not football powered, but who cares, right? We're coming in academic and all that could absolutely be happening. I have no problem with that at all. And them having a travel partner to get to 20, I have no problem at all with that. My first question comes out. I don't think that's Notre Dame. So if we just take that and put that on a shelf and say, okay, those things might be happening. Obviously, if they happen, there's nothing, we'll report it. Once it does, it's just what's the likelihood they're the next one to pick. Let me get to these super chats really quick, and then I'll give Ute some time. Miami Flo, I love you, Miami Flo, so much. Thank you for being here tonight, and we wish you nothing but success on your new channel. We need to talk about that, by the way, you and I. $10 super chat says, great job, guys. Hit the like button. So if you're watching right now, hit that like button. We're working hard for you. Just look butters. Greg has added a little flavor to the show tonight, and I want to thank him for being here. Rec Talk, another $5 super chat saying, will the FSU clown school count toward their AAC? George said, what does this mean, Moen?
I think he's saying that Florida State has a clown school, and if that should count towards their
AAC. Okay, all right. Yeah.
By the way, I have to give sounders to Flo.
Give a sounder.
Please go ahead. Yeah, hit him.
I'm a bad man. You hear me?
And for Rec Talk.
Hell of an engineer. Thank you so much, Rec. Good to see you. And yeah, I saw your comments earlier about clowning on Georgia Tech. We're not clowning on Georgia Tech. Moen's building up Georgia Tech to be the next Ohio State. What are you talking about?
Oh, yeah,
all we're talking about is pieces of what Georgia Tech could do. Ryan Willie, another $2 super chat on top of everything else he's given us. Ryan, thank you so much for everything you do for the show and for our channel. We really, really appreciate it. Wisconsin women's hockey will crush Minnesota, Greg.
Well, the Badgers women are the favorites, no question about it. What are they? 35-1, 36-1.
Jeez.
Yes.
I might have that wrong. 37-1, whatever.
That's
They
a
have
lot.
1 loss and 2 ties.
Yeah. So
That's
yeah,
a big deal, right? That women's hockey is a big deal.
In Minnesota, it is.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's cool.
I
I don't
know
know much about
I mean,
hockey, so
We it's just another way for our hearts to get crushed here in Minnesota.
Ohio.
What, Moen? You're cracking up. I can't
Ohio
hear you.
State punched their ticket, Greg.
Oh, there you go.
I said Ohio State
More,
punched their
more Big
ticket.
Ten stuff. All right. Okay, everybody. We've got about 15 minutes to wrap this show up.
Can I say one? Can I say one more thing?
Of course you can.
Is it about Duke?
No. No.
I got to show you something about Duke, though, Greg. So every time you think about Duke and realignment from now on, this beauty pageant, remember metaphor?
Yeah.
Just think of this. Duke in the swimsuit competition right here.
Yeah, baby.
Duke's never going to win the swimsuit competition because this is going to get etched into all of our minds here. This is Duke, what it looks like in the beauty pageant.
Oh, my gosh. Ute, you trying to piss off a lot of people. We're trying to get people to
should have went
watch
with
it.
a silver swimsuit.
The
Well, you don't like that swimsuit? Come on.
Go ahead, Greg.
It's too close to Serpentine's colors.
Go ahead, Greg.
The beauty pageant. Getting back to the beauty pageant. You know, Nathan asked the question earlier if things would be different. I mean, if the Big Ten could have done it differently, you know, or something to do with Rutgers and Maryland, maybe whatever, right? Mm-hmm. There is one big advantage in this next realignment wave. If you're an ACC school and you're trying to get into the Big Ten, I'm just going to focus on that. There's a big advantage that now it's still, some of these schools are long shots, right? But there's a big advantage that Georgia Tech holds. There's an advantage that Miami holds. There's an advantage that Duke holds. And that is when it comes to the beauty pageant, the Big Ten presidents are not going to select for the next for Miss America for the next Big Ten entry. They're not going to pick another Nebraska.
Right.
No, and I mean Nebraska, great fan base, great fan base, right? Great fan base. But you know, University of Nebraska Lincoln does a great job for its state and everything, but they're not going in that direct. They're not going to go in that direction.
AAU is what you're hinting at, right?
That was an evidence of the symptom of the not so much. I mean, I don't think it's just that Nebraska has flatlined as a research university.
Oh, right. Okay.
It absolutely flatlined. And they're trying to get that solved. They're trying to get Kearney and Omaha into the link, and they're trying to consolidate again all these schools in Nebraska to try to help that out. But so if it wasn't for that, is what the Big Ten presidents are wary of, right? So again, you're looking at the president of Ohio State, Mr. Carter, who used to be the president of Nebraska. Well, Carter put out memos and emails, and that was all multiple reporters have talked about it. McKeon, Steve Sipple on 93.7, The Ticket, multiple Nebraska writers talked about it. President Carter saying Nebraska, when he was the president there, before he went to Ohio State, right before he made the move, saying we're in trouble. We're in danger. We might get kicked out of this conference. Basically, those were the words he was saying, because we are so much different than everybody else in this conference. We have lost. The gap is growing between us and these other research universities. And now, and then Steve Albert talked about it. He talked about it multiple times, saying, "Mac, we gotta, this athletic department is one thing, but the university's got to get it going. And then he became the athletic director of Texas A&M. Carter goes to Ohio State. So Ohio State did not run the show on the last realignment wave. They never really have until now. This time they are. They acquiesced on Oregon and Washington. They acquiesced and said, well, we're going to call the shots the next time internal politics in the Big Ten. So you've got President Carter of Ohio State calling the shots in the next realignment wave, and he doesn't want another Nebraska. That is also hurting the potentiality of a Clemson and a Florida State. We're talking about the big brand of Florida State. They are. It's great. Yes, but the Big Ten presidents are going to be very wary of going in that direction. They're not going to have to worry about any of that. They don't have to worry about 20 years from now, a particular school being so far behind everybody else, they don't even look like a Big Ten institution anymore.
So isn't that the concern that everything that Moen has been saying absolutely might be happening, by the way, just because I disagree with it doesn't mean it's happening. No. But isn't that the concern? You have this fashion show, you have this, Miss whatever pageant, you have they're walking on the runway. They're dressing up in their best finery. What you don't know is in their trunk, all they have is second and third hand clothes. All they have to get in the door is they're dressing up to be this great thing.
You're right.
Like Nebraska did. And then all of a sudden you bring them in at a half share or a third share. All right, here now we are. But now what are you going to do?
You're right. You're right. But that goes back to the ace up the sleeve that a Georgia Tech has.
Tech does. I totally agree
because 20 years from now, Georgia Tech is going to be still this an incredible university. They
Absolutely
just are.
True.
And so
Absolutely
is Duke and Miami is. That's just the way it is, right?
Agreed.
So that is the advantage that those schools have in this. And so I want to bring that up because that is what, again, Ohio State's going to have the big call on this.
Yeah.
And they've never used their power before in this on this subject of expansion.
Okay.
But they're going to use it this time. And Carter, you got to be on Carter's side. And what are those institutions that are on Carter's side? You put them on a list and a ledger. There's not many of them, and they're the ones that we're talking about tonight, in my opinion.
Okay. No, that's fair. I appreciate it. Having that additional context. Certainly Moen has contacts you and I don't have. Moen's hearing things that we don't know. So we're doing things and making predictions, statements based on maybe rules that have changed, right? But we don't know that. You and I don't know that. So when more facts come out, our opinions can be changed or modified.
Oh, absolutely. Yep.
And I think that's just what we need to say out loud, that hey, things can move, but we appreciate knowing as much information as we can. So Greg, thank you so much for coming on.
You got it.
Let me get to a couple of super chats here really quick. Rec Talk, $2 super chat saying, is Moen auditioning for Scarface? Moen?
Listen, Rec Talk, I like you. There's no lying in you. But I tell you this once. Don't you ever try to fuck me, Rec Talk. Don't you ever try to fuck me.
Man, that was pretty good, actually. Becky Go Huskies, another $5 super chat. Thank you so much, Becky. This could all end if Notre Dame would just join a conference. Well, that's what Moen's counting on. I don't think they ever join a conference. So that's where our major disagreement lies.
Before Greg leaves, Greg, you actually got pinged on a tweet yesterday. I'm going to cite it. It's from Gavin Heckman. He's a Texas Tech fan. It's about this Cody Campbell character over at Texas Tech. He's a huge billionaire booster, right?
Yeah.
And he actually had an interview that was pretty amazing interview as far as realignment. He spoke to the SEC's influence now in Texas and about like the student apocalypse that you talk about all the time. And apparently 20,000 students from Texas go to SEC schools, according to Cody Campbell. So we're talking about like, what's the benefit of adding a North Carolina to the SEC, right? Like you asked that question, I think earlier, Nate. It's because like the drop in cliff in students that's happening this year, starting this year over the next 10 years. and the growth in population of students in the state of North Carolina, key battleground state that we've talked about, and adding that and jumping to other SEC schools. And I wouldn't have thought there would be like that strong a correlation. But when I heard that interview from this character, I was shocked. Dude, like 20,000 people from Texas going to SEC schools? That's a massive amount.
Do you have the link to that? You could
Absolutely
put in the comment section, or how about this? Put retweet it on Twitter. How about that? Just
I would like to know how many Texas high school students are going to Alabama, because Alabama has had a major increase in outstate resident students, and they're loving it. They're loving it. Alabama and Mississippi and Mississippi State. They all want these. Yeah. So again, the next realignment way is different than the previous one, at least a little bit. And for the SEC, we've heard that it's all about, most of it is about the student apocalypse.
Yeah, and you can't really wait it out either. Like, okay, so it's not going to be till 2030 when this all shakes out. If you're the SEC, there's reason to get North Carolina as soon as possible. And so this thing, in my view of this thing, I think that this thing busts in the next 24 months. I really do. I strongly believe that the financials support it. There's a lot of things that support it, at least the first movement.
Well, if that was the case, I would be happy, because then the Big 12 will win. In the game of you win, I lose, I win, you lose. That's what we want. The Big 12 to be able to pull those brands out after the ACC, and the SEC is eaten their full. The Big 12 will take the next best brands, and it will be the third best conference, and the ACC will be a basketball conference. That's basically where we're at right now. So let me get to a few more super chats. Kenneth Maynard, at this point, you need to become a member, brother. We have member videos that you could be watching right now. So consider becoming a member of the Mafia family. Hit that little $sign down there where you hit the donation, and just become a member. That way we know that you're here for good. Anyway, no coincidence that UNC hires Belichick, Kansas Stadium renovations, and Duke. Big money is lurking. These elite basketball brands are arming up for a future in either Big Ten or SEC to catch up with NIL. That is absolutely true, Kenneth Maynard. Nobody's going to say you're wrong, and they are. They are trying to join the beauty pageant, the runway to get into into a P2 conference. No doubt about it.
I wish we had another 2 hours to talk about private capital.
Yeah, we need
tune in Sunday. I didn't even touch on what I heard about Kansas, guys. Tune in on Sunday.
There you go. There's a bump.
It's so juicy, though. Like, seriously.
There's a bump. That's what we need to hear. Yeah. Anyway, so I appreciate your super chats there, Kenneth. Thank you so much. And Becky O'Husky is going to have the last comment we have tonight, which is Moen looks like the Colonel in South Park.
Student athletes. Oh, that is brilliant, sir.
Thank you, Becky.
All right, Greg, why don't you tell everybody what you're up to nowadays?
Working, a little playing. So don't like it, but that's how it is. The wife comes back from Mexico Monday night out of a 3-week vacation, taking her mother all over South Mexico.
Cool.
So the little general is going to come back, and I'm not going to be no longer in charge. College football's peek around the corner. Probably going to have a live show tomorrow talking a little bit about UConn, and I'm going to do my Big 12 way too early order of finish prediction for 2025. I did the SEC last week. Nice. I'm going to do the Big 12 this week, and I'm going to have a shocker at number 2 to make the Big 12 championship. No, it's not Utah. No, it's not BYU. BYU will not be a shocker, because BYU is going to be one of the favorites. It's going to be a shocker. So number 2. So that's what I'm doing.
I appreciate you coming on, Greg, on a Friday night. Having your family out obviously gave you some freedom, but all the time you've given us in the last month or so, thank you so much for that.
All right, guys. I appreciate it. See you guys
Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Greg.
Oh, man, I'm so glad he was able to come on again. That's awesome.
That was good. Good intel right there.
Moen, why don't you tell everybody what's going on Sunday night?
Sunday night at 7:00, join myself and my co-host Rock and Rant for an episode of Moen After Dark. I will touch base we didn't get a chance to tonight to talk a little bit about the Big 12 and conference expansion and realignment. We'll touch base on that. We'll get your comments and questions, and we'll raise hell in general.
I love it. I love it. I appreciate everybody watching tonight. Ute, what are you working on for your next Wild Ute University video?
Absolutely. Working on a Big 12 viewership initiative shares, looking at that for the last 11 years of viewership, what the Big 12 look like. We're going to mix that up with the ACC too, to see who really outside of the Power 2 are the drivers in viewership over the last 11 years. A lot of videos coming out over the next couple of weeks. But just to finish this one out, will big money be enough to push programs to the P2? Duke's certainly trying to make that argument. In my view, it's basically the SMU booklet, right? Just get all the money, forget the payouts, just let us in and we'll fund ourselves. That's basically the book. We're going to do whatever it takes to win the beauty pageant. So they're pulling out all the guns. Good for the Dukies.
And I think they're not the only ones. I think there's a lot of schools. I will just point to this guy's school right here, who has finally realized that you can't starve one grade A program at the detriment of another. And they're begging for NIL dollars to build basketball back up. So everybody,
we got the NIL now with the coach. We got the NIL coming in now.
I know. With Alex, you do. Sure enough. So this story's not changing, everybody. For the next several months, at least, this beauty show that Moen talks about is definitely occurring. What the effect will be on realignment, we're not 100% sure, but it sure is fun to talk about. So, Moen, any last words?
We haven't done this one.
From what I've heard, you're using your paper not for writing, but for rolling doobies.
We have not done that, no. I appreciate it. Thanks, everybody, for being here. For Wild Ute, for Moen. Everybody have a great night. We'll see you Sunday night. What time again, Moen?
7:00, but let's say thanks to Ryan Willie, Vox
Yeah,
Pandaro, Rock and Rant, Kenneth Maynard, Becky Go Huskies, Opie Didon, Daniel Gygax, Rec Talk, Miami Flow. Thank you all for your super chats and your generosity and continuing to be members. It is much appreciated.
Thank you so much. So we'll check you out on Sunday night with Moen and Rock, or Tuesday night we'll have another Big 12 Mafia or a sit-down interview coming up next week. So lots of stuff we're working on. Stick with us. We thank you so much. Everybody have a great weekend. Be safe and peace out.
Go use.
If this works, let's try this again.